Welcome to another episode of the Senior Focus. I'm happy that you could join us today. There's a lot of important topics that we want to discuss today. And I have with me Attorney John Rexford. And I wanted John to join us because we're going to talk about issues that really do affect the senior population. I want to talk about Social Security. I want to talk about Medicare. I want to talk about the Senior Economic Security Standard, the Foreclosure Avoidance Act. So there's a number of different things I want to talk about, and it really does impact the administration of elder law and the services that you provide. And a lot of people might think that, these particular services aren't impacted by the availability of these public funds, but truth of the matter is, whether it's my role as chair of the State Rehabilitation Council for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts with Mass Rehab, or whether it's I hold the position of Vice President of the Board of Directors for the Central Mass Agency on Aging. An awful lot of federal funds come in, and these federal funds are then turned around and dispersed among various state agencies that help seniors and the disabled meet their needs, meet their daily living expense, to help them remain in the community. And I don't think there is any mystery or any secret about the fact that the economy is a shambles. The economy is abysmal. Some prognosticators are claiming that by the year 2027, there won't be any money left. The amount of taxes, the amount of revenue that the government takes in won't be enough to even pay the debt service, the interest on the loan that we have. Some prognosticators say, no, that's not going to happen until 2033. But you look at it, there's a 5-year difference. I know that I don't want to see the country go bankrupt in 2027 or 2033. And I think that everyone needs to begin a discourse, a conversation about these topics. And it's not something that you can just bury your head in the sand. People need to talk about these things. And, I suppose we'll start with Social Security. And just as a general proposition, not, trying to make you out as an expert in Social Security, as an individual that worked in Social Security, but as a citizen of our country, do you think Social Security should adjust the amount of money that it pays out in benefits to people?
Personally speaking, I don't believe that it should, because that money is money that someone has worked to earn and has put in there without really the option or the choice, and expects to get it back someday.
Right.
They don't expect it to be given to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we should honor that expectation and not be promising more people more money from government sources.
I'm not a financial planner, and I'm not an expert in financial affairs, but I think that's akin to a defined benefit plan. You put money into a retirement system, you want to be able to get that money back out. And if you adjust the amount of money that Social Security pays out, I think you can envision a situation where people will pay in a certain static amount of money. Let's say, just for purposes of argument, they pay in $500 a week, or $150 a week in Social Security. And when it comes time to get that money back out, they're not getting what they put into it. And I think that is not a good thing. You take a look at people who have a certain amount of affluence, of wealth, and they don't need a safety net like Social Security. For instance, my father had a lot of money in the bank, yet his monthly Social Security benefit was about $3,000 a month. Mm-hmm. An awful lot of money, and the gentleman simply didn't need it. Mm-hmm. I can see a situation where if there is a certain amount of wealth that a person has, that their Social Security is provided as a safety net, as a benefit to others. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that Social Security is what it's called, Social Security. If you have been able to establish your own financial security, then that's a blessing to be thankful for. You know, the more that we rely on government and the more that we create the expectation to rely on government, the more I think that we weaken the whole economic structure.
Yeah, and talking about reliance on government, I mean, I think if we look more deeply into it, it's the entitlement programs, or welfare, food stamps, unemployment. Those are the programs that are really debilitating the economy, I think.
Well, I would agree. I wouldn't say, oh, we just wipe them off the map because there's cases of true need.
Right.
But when someone is able to work and could work, I do think it weakens everything if they prefer and choose to take benefits rather than working. It means that someone else is working now for both of them.
Right.
And if you have one person working for two, that weakens both people. The worker works harder and the other person gets a softer mindset and a softer work ethic, and from a national level, the whole country gets weakened.
I have compassion for people that have some kind of a physical ailment or an emotional ailment. They're not able to become employed, and if there is a need, I believe that need should be satisfied and they should receive some kind of benefit. But for instance, I think recently, probably within the past few months, there was an executive order that was issued that did away with the welfare reform that was initiated and instituted under President Clinton. And basically, for welfare recipients, if they were able-bodied and they were able to find employment and able to work, I believe there was a 2-year restriction. Within 2 years, they had to show that they were employed, looking for employment, something to that effect. And then the current administration basically wipes that requirement out. So the states now no longer have this reform that I think is necessary.
I agree. There's two thoughts that permeate this discussion. One is that there are times when we collectively as a society need to help each other out.
Right.
And so we would rearrange the wealth in those instances. But there's also the thread that once those programs are in place, the human mind can get a little greedy and rationalize, and we begin to abuse and exploit the program that was well motivated. And then the next thing you know, we're all saying, well, he gets that benefit, why shouldn't I? Why should I have to work?
There was a caller into the Hank Stoltz show, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and the gentleman identified himself as an able-bodied individual. He was able to work. His comment was, I get so many benefits from the state. And he began to rattle them off. Unemployment, food stamps. He went on and on and on. He said, you'd have to put a gun to my head to try to make me go out there and get a job. And you know what? I wouldn't want to get a job. I get more benefit by being unemployed and receiving benefits from the government than I'd be able to get if I were employed. So I have no desire to go out and get a job.
Well, just one generation ago, at the law firm Elder and Disability Law Advocates, it so happens that a high percentage of the clients are older people. And so the older people from the generation prior to my own, were World War II veterans and built the economy. And I talked to these people, they had multiple jobs.
Right.
They have a work ethic that basically says work to eat. And they raised children by working whatever job they could get. And they take a lot of pride in that, almost a patriotic form of pride.
Right.
And they are sharing with me that they're sensing a shift in the mindset of the future generations from that work ethic.
Well, I think that's the problem. You have the older generation, the elderly, seniors who expect part of life is you have to hold a job, you have to pay your way and do what you need to do to help foster a healthy economy and expand the economy. And I fear that by the actions taken by the government today, the younger people that are entering into the workforce don't see it the same way. If they think, hey, we're able to get the same kind of benefit, or maybe even more of a benefit, if we do nothing, if we just stay at home, I'm not quite certain what is going to motivate them to go out and find employment.
I agree. It is a concern, and it's a concern that I hear from the older clients that I work with every day. Mm-hmm. This is their country, and it's the young people's country as well, so I want to preserve the unity of our country. But those two mindsets present kind of a different economic model for the future and more reliance on government. And with that, well, we can already see that the economy is not doing that well and numbers are shifting. And I don't think it's just pure math. I think it's partly because of this philosophy, this ideological presentation of, well, where do you place your expectations? Do we place it in our hands and our ability to work, or do we place it in a government program?
Here's another, I think, fundamental shift in, the mindset of the government, of the policies initiated by the administration. There is afoot some question of whether work credits should be provided in Social Security for people who stay home to raise children. And, I don't think that the country was ever established, or Social Security in any event, was established to meet that criteria. If you're able-bodied, but you choose to stay home, we're going to give you credits so that you're able to get Social Security at the end, even though you paid nothing into the system and you didn't help expand the economy. I think that's wrong. Not that I don't want to see people that raise children be able to receive some kind of benefit. I'm not a cold-hearted person, but I think the people that actually do work, pay into the system, expand the economy, increase the job base, there isn't going to be money even for those people. There's going to be money for no one.
Right. As I mentioned, I would say, again, that work credit means that somewhere along the line, someone is out working to help provide the credit for the person that decided not to work.
Right.
And so you have one person working for two. And I don't have anything against raising children. My wife and I made very, very deliberate decisions for her to not work when we were raising children.
Right.
And we knew that we would have lower income and we would have less of a financial strength. And we made that decision freely and independently and privately. And we would not have asked someone else through the government to subsidize that decision. That was our decision.
Here's another question for you. Right now there's a cap on Social Security of like $110,000. If a person earns more than $110,000, whatever amount over the $110,000 is not taxed for Social Security. The question is, should they increase the cap? Do away with the cap? What if someone makes $500,000 in income? Should they pay Social Security tax on the entire amount? Should you stop at 110? Should you go up to 250? I don't think there should be a cap. What do you think?
Well, I would like to know, what is the rationale for the cap? I mean, why do we draw the line at a particular place? If the concept of the program is that you pay a percentage of your wages into the program, and there's a rational basis for the program, then I would beg the question, what is the rationale for the cap?
Right.
Now, if the rationale, I'd like to hear the rationale for the cap before being able to form an opinion. If the rationale for the cap is, well, we'd like to free up those dollars over 110 to be privately held and privately invested and create jobs and expand businesses, I'd listen to that argument.
Right. Yeah, I think at this particular point in time, it's so difficult right now. There's, I think, a severe shortage of proceeds to be able to fund these programs. I'm not quite certain that you've got one party saying that they don't want private retirement and private investment to take the place of Social Security, Medicare, that type of thing. So, I don't think that they should raise the rate, the FICA rate. What is it now, like 6.2%? I don't think you want to raise the rate per individual, but you know what? If someone is fortunate enough to make $250,000, $300,000, rather than raising the rate that they pay on the 110, tax the entire amount of their income. In any event, we're going to head to a break right now. When I come back, John and I are going to talk about Medicare, a very important topic for seniors.
Millbury Healthcare Center is a highly respected 5-star, deficiency-free skilled nursing and rehabilitation center. We are renowned for our compassionate care and specialty programming, making it possible for your next step, returning home. We listen and take the time to understand your goals. We provide support and the tools needed to safely prepare for your transition home. Millbury Healthcare Center is the community choice for skilled nursing and rehabilitation.
Does your loved one suffer from memory impairment, dementia, or Alzheimer's disease? Consider Dodge Park Rest Home in Worcester. Our geriatric medical team and nursing staff are available 24 hours a day. We offer medication administration and incontinence care with dignity. Our activity programs are designed to engage and stimulate the mind. And with Dodge Park Rest Home, you can better protect your estate and save your assets with only a 1-year look back. Your loved one will feel safe and at home with Dodge Park Rest Home of Worcester.
This is Virgil Gibson. Join me at the Hanover Theater on October 13th for a great night of music and comedy to benefit St. John's Food for the Poor. Buy your ticket, and they'll close the funding gap so construction can start on Worcester's new St. John's Food for the Poor Center. Purchase your ticket now by calling 877-571-7469.
Tired of weather reports that don't focus on Central Mass? Introducing Worcester Weather, the only video weather report for Worcester. Worcester Weather is easily accessible 24/7 by visiting chartertv3.com and is updated throughout the day to give you the best video forecast possible. Worcester Weather also airs at 5 p.m. during the Jordan Levy Show and every Worcester News Tonight telecast. Worcester Weather gives you the local forecast you have always wanted. Worcester Weather on Charter TV3 and chartertv3.com. Brought to you by Berterra Nissan of Auburn.
Charter Business helps businesses achieve everyday victories. Want to be victorious today? Call 877-BIZ-BUNDLE. Switch to Charter Business and start saving over $50 a month. You'll enjoy internet 6 times faster than standard DSL, plus phone with unlimited long distance. Saving your business over $50 a month makes for an easy decision. It's indecision that'll cost you. So call 877-BIZ-BUNDLE today. To the victor go the spoils.
Charter TV3 and UMass Memorial Healthcare have teamed up to bring you the latest news and trends in healthcare. Health Watch, presented by UMass Memorial Healthcare, brings you the healthcare topics that are important to you. From stroke prevention to allergies, skincare to sports injury prevention, and nutrition to pregnancy, Health Watch and UMass Memorial Healthcare informed you on the issues that affect you on a daily basis. Health Watch on Charter TV3. For extended interviews with UMass Memorial Healthcare experts, log on to our website.
I'm Kristen Doucette from Worcester News Tonight. Thank you for choosing Charter.
Welcome back to the Senior Focus. I'm your host, Attorney Nick Colsis, and I'm here with Attorney John Rexford. And we're going to talk about Medicare. And we have to get our fiscal house in order. Not only is it an economic issue and it's economically necessary, I think that it's morally imperative that we do so. We have to get our financial house in order. The unbridled spending of the past can't continue. We can't sustain it. In order to ensure that these programs are available in the future, they need to be dealt with. They need to be improved. They need to be put on a more stable solid setting so that in the years to come, benefits are still available. John, one of the things I find very frightening is you hear on TV repeatedly by the administration that the Romney-Ryan plan to adjust Medicare is basically going to do away with Medicare, and seniors won't be able to get the benefits that they need.
Well, that's frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Yeah. There's certain things out there that float around and become public myths. People say to me all the time, if I get a will, I won't have to go to court. That's a public myth. Wills don't avoid court. And this is the same thing. It's a myth. In the reality, how I understand the plan is that present-day seniors, will still retain what they have.
Yeah, if you're 55 or over, they're not going to touch your benefit scheme.
That's a lot of people that would
That's
not
a lot
be
of
affected.
people.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Social Security says 10,000 people a day are turning 65. With Social Security, Medicare, one's available in the general fund and one is earmarked. You need a certain number of workers to pay into the system to be able to provide solvency of that particular program and that system so that it has proceeds, resources, funds to be able to pay, benefits out to retirees. We're not there right now.
Right.
And the fear mongering that's going on, and I don't want to blame it on the Democrats. I don't want to blame it on the Republicans. I don't want to blame it on the Libertarians. We're all Americans. I don't think there should be a particular party affiliation and this, partisan bickering where the Democrats want to do it to the Republicans or the Republicans want to do it to the Democrats. We all need to come together and solve this problem because, as we had said in the prior segment, if the prognosticators are saying by 2027, to 2033, the country is going to run out of money the way things are, headed right now, and that's the Congressional Budget Office. That's the government itself saying, we're running out of money, folks. Something needs to be done.
I agree. Well, it is a little bit sad that there can't be some political unity and political solutions because we are all Americans. And unfortunately, especially as election years roll around, we become partisan and we're trying to grab turf and there's ideological differences and everybody becomes adversarial.
Right.
And I think that's one of the weaknesses of the system. As much as I love the system and I like to honor the founding fathers, and I think it's the greatest system on the planet, still, it's human beings in there, and everybody wants to have their position heard and their position staked out and have their position become legislated and codified. To me, I just think that the philosophical differences should exist. That makes this country great.
Right.
But that there should be some compromise and some talking so that it makes economic sense.
I heard someone say that the country is like a huge business. And right now, that huge business is not doing very well. And I thought, that's true. The country in the provision of benefits and, the expenditure of the proceeds that it takes in, it is like a big business. And then I thought to myself, there hasn't been a budget passed in over 3 years. And I thought, no other business I know of would operate that way. Why does the government operate that way?
Well, maybe because they can. If you're running a family, you have to pay your bills.
Right.
If you're running a law firm, you have to pay your bills. If you're manufacturing cars in Detroit, you have to pay your bills. But the government can get away with not having to pay their bills.
They keep raising the debt ceiling. 1/3 of the amount of money spent by the government is borrowed money. I'm speechless about that. Talk about being fiscally irresponsible, and to expect that in the coming years, the programs that are being funded with borrowed money are going to be sustainable. And in the future, even though we're running what? We're running a $15 trillion budget deficit right now. We'll continue with the deficit spending, and we'll be able to continue funding the programs. Simply not true. And look at the the interest rates. The interest rates are somewhat compacted now. They're not the interest rates that were present back in the Jimmy Carter days. I think if interest rates go up 1%, 2%, 3%, it's going to have an enormous impact on the ability to pay the debt service of the borrowed money that the government is spending. I think that the comment that I've heard over and over again, I think it was the Treasury Secretary Bernanke saying that to Romney, or maybe to Ryan, I think to Ryan, that I'm not saying he's saying that he wasn't saying things didn't need to change, there didn't need to be changes, but that he just didn't like their changes. So I'm thinking, well, if you don't like what they're proposing, propose something, come up with something. Never mind maintaining the status quo. We already know the trajectory path that we're on in 10, 15, 20 years, company won't be solvent. Say the company. The country will say the company. The company won't be solvent. So there, is clearly the need for changes, but there are people in place that want to maintain the status quo, and I don't think the status quo can be maintained. And for them to initiate some kind of fear-mongering and indicate that, Medicare is going to change and people are not going to be able to recognize it's going to be, different in kind is just blatantly not true. Mm-hmm. If benefits aren't going to be touched for people 55 years of age and older, at least we seek to preserve the program so that when you and I are retired and we need to be able to receive some kind of benefit from the government, something that we've paid in and we're looking for something back, it's there. Right now, I'm afraid that won't happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, during this financial transition in our country, there's probably a group of people, maybe it's yourself and myself, based on our age, that will really feel a pinch because,
right.
When you have too much debt, that pinch shows up eventually.
Right.
And what do we do if that pinch shows up? Do we complain and squirm and criticize and point fingers? Yes, perhaps, that's human nature. But I would suggest that even everyone watching your show realize that this is a big problem. And
a huge problem.
I think we all should recognize it's a huge problem, and it's not going to just magically go away. We all need to have a pinch. We all need to, have the mentality that they had a generation ago when they collected scrap metal and everything for the war effort. We all need to be willing to buckle up. Maybe expect less, maybe work more, maybe be careful and modest with our expectations of how much we rely upon government. Mm-hmm. It's also a philosophical issue.
I think the idea of repackaging whatever benefit you can receive through Medicare and having that monetary benefit be provided to you as a means to, supplement and help you get insurance for yourself makes a lot of sense. In the event you want more coverage than traditional, typical Medicare provides, if it's more expensive, if the cost of that care is more expensive, but you opt for the more expensive care, I think that the government should only pay that fixed amount, and if you want more coverage and you're able to pay for that coverage, pay for the coverage. You can get more. If a person is less advantaged, disadvantaged, is a lower income senior, for instance, and needs assistance with their benefit, I'm all in favor of providing that benefit. And that plan is out there. And it's incumbent upon all the people to go out there, see what there is, as I've said too many times. Seniors comprise what's called the silent majority, and you people should be silent, can be silent no more. Not only for yourselves, but for your grandchildren, for your children, for all of our citizens. It's time for everyone to become involved in conversation and discourse on these matters. And an election is coming up in November, and it's really incumbent upon people to get out there and vote their conscience, one way or the other. In any event, we're going to head to a break right now, and when we come back, I would like to talk about certain other economic issues as well.
Does your loved one suffer from memory impairment, dementia, or Alzheimer's disease? Consider Dodge Park Rest Home in Worcester. Our geriatric medical team and nursing staff are available 24 hours a day. We offer medication administration and incontinence care with dignity. Our activity programs are designed to engage and stimulate the mind. And with Dodge Park Rest Home, you can better protect your estate and save your assets with only a 1-year look back. Your loved one will feel safe and at home with Dodge Park Rest Home of Worcester.
Millbury Healthcare Center is a highly respected 5-star deficiency-free skilled nursing and rehabilitation center. We are renowned for our compassionate care and specialty programming, making it possible for your next step, returning home. We listen and take the time to understand your goals. We provide support and the tools needed to safely prepare for your transition home. Millbury Healthcare Center is the community choice for skilled nursing and rehabilitation.
Coverage from Central Massachusetts for Central Massachusetts.
A brand new facility now stands in the shadow of the former Worcester State Hospital. The witnesses say they saw 4 young men pour gasoline on a piece of furniture and set it on fire. Police in Northborough are asking residents to take extra precautions after a series of break-ins in town this week.
Reporters in the field and an in-depth local forecast. Worcester News Tonight on Charter TV3.
The Arthritis Foundation moves people to move together.
Today is a celebration.
We're here to support our daughter and walk to find a cure for arthritis.
My whole entire family is here to support me.
This is the best way that we all can get the word out and raise awareness and raise funds for research.
Reach out to your family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers today.
This is Virgil Gibson. Join me at the Hanover Theater on October 13th for a great night of music and comedy to benefit St. John's Food for the Poor. Buy your ticket and help close the funding gap so construction can start on Worcester's new St. John's Food for the Poor Center. Purchase your ticket now by calling 877-571-7469.
What is this?
That is clam chowder.
Now that I've eaten all of this, did you watch me sneaking to eat the chowder?
I believe that bowl is empty, isn't it?
Pretty much. Did you see me doing it so that Jeannie wouldn't get a shot of me eating? Because then it will show up in a promo on Channel 3.
You better chow down or it's gonna get cold, so eat it. I don't care if you're full, just eat it. Eat it. Open up your mouth and feed it.
I'm Caitlin Tivnan from Worcester News Tonight. Thank you for choosing Charter.
Welcome back to the Senior Focus. I'm attorney Nick Coltis. I'm here with Attorney John Rexford. And hey, it's no secret that the economy is brutal. Unemployment, you're at 23 million people in our country are unemployed. So that's a rather staggering number. The unemployment rate's running at about 8.3%. I think it's been above 8% for the past 4 years, 3 years, 3.5 years. I think a more accurate rate, even though the unemployment rate's running at 8.3%, and those are government figures. Government also comes up with an unemployment figure. It's called a U6 rate for people who are underemployed, not looking for employment anymore. They've given up. It's running at about 16%. I mean, that is a figure where the benefit programs that are being promised to people, they're simply not sustainable. The country is going to run out of money, and it's not going to be able to make good on its promises. I think that the growth of the economy is abysmal. At best, it's running at like 1.2%. It's below 2% annually anyways right now. And then you hear comments that the private sector is doing just fine. We need more public sector jobs. Do you think the private sector is doing just fine?
Not in my opinion, no. And I don't particularly agree that we need more public sector jobs
No,
either.
we need less public sector jobs. I mean, I think that the fact that the unemployment rate is running above 8%, I think it's running closer to 16% myself, but let's say 8.3%, I think is an indication that the private sector is not doing well. We've got the president and Nancy Pelosi making comments that the best way to get the economy back online and growing, as Nancy Pelosi said, the best bang for your buck is more food stamps, more unemployment insurance. What do you think of that statement?
I think it's the opposite of what's actually needed, because I don't have anything against food stamps where they're needed or unemployment where it's needed. I don't have anything against the concepts or the programs. But to say that more of that is a solution is, in my mind, the opposite of the solution.
Right.
To me, the solution is less of that and the generation of products and services, an opportunity for people to be engaged in producing products and services, not just pulling more funds from the tax rolls.
I'll go one step further for you. I'll say that not only do I think it's the opposite, I think it's an oxymoronic statement. I mean, you see unemployment at 8.2, 8.3, 8.4%, the U6 rate at like 16%, and to say we need more of it to improve the economy, that's a barometer of the fact that the economy is not doing well. So I think that, when I heard someone say that the management of the country is like the management of a company, and the government's nothing more than a big company, and do we want the current management to continue that has, sustained the results of the past 3 years? I find it a frightening proposition.
Well, baseball teams don't seem to do it. If the baseball team doesn't win for a while, I happen to notice that they sometimes make a management change.
Right.
And that's because the team wants to win, because winning is the definition of success. So if we in the United States define economic strength and health and vitality of our economy as part of our definition of success, then we want to have management that creates that.
Let's talk a little bit about the tax structure. I am the first one to say, there needs to be some kind of a revision, amendment, some kind of work done on the tax system. I think that ultimately the question becomes, what's the best way to get the economy back on track? And I'm not quite certain, and I don't think that the way to get the economy back on track is to raise taxes. I think that, to foster an environment of business development, business expansion, to make it more comfortable for businesses to, invest in capital expenditures and so forth, I don't think we need to raise taxes. Like under Ronald Reagan, I think that if you reduce taxes, the amount of revenue the government is going to be able to bring in is going to increase, because there's a larger economy that takes place, and that larger economy, even though taxes are reduced, ends up paying more in tax revenue. Do you agree with that, or do you not agree with that?
I would, but you have to think about it for a moment, because the first thought, if you're not going to raise taxes, is, well, you're not going to raise more money.
Right.
But in effect, the money that's not being paid into taxes is being used for something else, which is usually generative. I mean, if everybody just puts it under the pillow, it might not be, but people don't just put it under the pillow. This is America. If they have the money, they'll invest, they'll grow. People love to start businesses and expand businesses. I've done it, you've done it. And we only can do it if there's capital available and we're willing to take risk. And that's what built this country, available capital and the willingness to take risk. This country was not built on handouts. So I think letting people keep their money and letting them have a free market to invest their money is going to actually produce more revenue in the long run. But you have to think through the two steps, and you have to be patient, and you have to trust the people.
And I think controlled spending is critical. This unbridled spending that we're witnessing at the moment, the stimulus, literally trillions of dollars being spent in stimulus, can't be sustained.
Of course not. Of course not.
The spending needs to come under control, and there needs to be some kind of a restructuring of the tax code, whether it's a flat rate that's applied across the board. I agree, something needs to be done. Do you realize that approximately 50% of the people that are employed in this country pay no income tax? This is a staggering amount.
It is a staggering amount. It is a staggering amount. When you think that that forms the underlying basis of the economic system, and 1 out of 2 people are paying in and 1 out of 2 are not, it's scary.
It seems that right now we're fostering an environment that creates haves and have-nots. And the people that have, tax them to provide for the people who, have some kind of a reliance upon the government. And like I said, and like you've said, if there is a need for relief, of course, we're compassionate people. And like I said, whether it's, the work I've done at the State Rehabilitation Council, the Central Mass Agency on Aging, if someone has a real need, if they're disadvantaged and they need assistance, of course, I think that in the event a person is, able-bodied, they need to go out and work. Like, I'm sorry, people need to go out and work. That's my opinion.
Well, I understand that when you say we should be careful about unbridled spending, you're not saying we shouldn't,
have
spend
any spending.
Yeah, right.
Right.
As I said in an earlier segment, at the law firm, I'm working with older people that have spent their whole life working, and they're now retired, and they're not rich. The clients are not rich. They're on fixed incomes,
Right.
Social Security checks, small pension checks. You can't cut those people off. But we're talking about spending where huge amounts of money are being thrown into the economy to save perhaps a business situation that was just bad management, bad decision, bad investment decisions, bad marketing decisions. It almost seems like, well, if you can't do well at business, come to the government, we'll help you out because we think it will help the economy. In the long run, I don't think it does.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that it doesn't work. I think this administration has spent more money combating poverty than any administration before it, yet there's more poverty today than at any time in the history of the United States. So this unbridled spending, throwing money at the situation, is not going to work. Like education. You can't just throw money in the education system. It doesn't work. It's obvious. It's been proven. It doesn't work. That's what's happening now. There's this mentality of unbridled spending, and it's not working. Rather than changing philosophies, rather than changing course or policies, I don't think we can just have more of the same. I find it very fearful. And I can imagine that seniors find it very fearful, and we're going to have to head to a break, but when we come back, we'll talk about some of the programs that are available for them and their need to ensure that these programs remain solvent and available to them. So we're going to head to a break right now, and we'll be back afterwards.
Millbury Healthcare Center is a highly respected 5-star deficiency-free skilled nursing and rehabilitation center. We are renowned for our compassionate care and specialty programming, making it possible for your next step, returning home. We listen and take the time to understand your goals. We provide support and the tools needed to safely prepare for your transition home. Millbury Healthcare Center is the community choice for skilled nursing and rehabilitation.
Does your loved one suffer from memory impairment, dementia, or Alzheimer's disease? Consider Dodge Park Rest Home in Worcester. Our geriatric medical team and nursing staff are available 24 hours a day. We offer medication administration and incontinence care with dignity. Our activity programs are designed to engage and stimulate the mind. And with Dodge Park Rest Home, you can better protect your estate and save your assets with only a 1-year look back. Your loved one will feel safe and at home with Dodge Park Rest Home of Worcester.
Charter TV3 and UMass Memorial Healthcare have teamed up to bring you the latest news and trends in healthcare. Health Watch, presented by UMass Memorial Healthcare, brings you the healthcare topics that are important to you. From stroke prevention to allergies, skincare to sports injury prevention, and nutrition to pregnancy, Health Watch and UMass Memorial Healthcare informed you on the issues that affect you on a daily basis. Health Watch on Charter TV3. For extended interviews with UMass Memorial Healthcare experts, log on to our website.
Fridays on the job in Worcester.
Is that your lunch?
Yeah, just having a few chips, trying to finish some things up.
You should come out to lunch with us. There's a concert on the Common right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'd be game for that.
Yeah, let's go.
Escape the office. Come out to lunch every Friday this summer, beginning June 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the Worcester Common behind City Hall. Produced by the City of Worcester and the Worcester Cultural Coalition. Promotional message provided by the City of Worcester and Charter TV3.
Hi, I'm Dale LePage.
And I'm Roberta Mandela.
From Charter TV3's entertainment show, WooTube. Tune into episode 7 of WooTube, now playing on Charter TV3.
You'll see videos from Andrew Lewis, Jennifer Ankowiak, Tom Boudreau, Joe Santamaria, and Chaz Kircher.
Plus, we'll have viewer mail, upcoming events, and our video of the month.
It's all right here on your entertainment destination for all of Central New England. WooTube on Charter TV3.
Join me on the Hank Stoltz Experience. You know, people are always asking me, what is the experience? Well, that's the beauty of it. It's everything that has to do with Central Massachusetts. From the politics of the region to the great events that are going on each and every weekend or every night right here in Central Mass. It's everything that's going on. It's everything that you want to know about. And just like Kelly Square, where the traffic never stops, we never stop either. There's no red lights on the Hank Stoltz Experience, only on Charter TV3.
I'm WTAG's Jordan Levy. Join me on the Jordan Levy Show weekday afternoons on Charter TV3. And thank you for choosing Charter.
Welcome back to the Senior Focus. Once again, I'm Attorney Nick Kalsis, and I'm here with Attorney John Rexford, and I wanted to talk about some of the legislation, some of the programs that are available for people who need assistance. For some people who might find themselves disadvantaged, not necessarily elderly or seniors. I think it applies to everyone. There's a foreclosure prevention bill that it has passed the House and the Senate, I think unanimously, for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And that bill requires a bank or a lender to modify loan terms if it makes financial sense for the bank to modify the loan versus foreclose the loan. There's a 150-day moratorium built into that bill, so the first thing the banks or the lender is going to have to do, conduct an analysis and determine if it makes sense to modify versus foreclose. they have to, the bank or the lender, has to convince a panel, we'll say comprised of legislators, that it makes more financial sense for them to modify rather than to foreclose. I think that in any event, any business enterprise does not want federal or state governmental regulation and interference. Perhaps if the panels that need to be convinced of the proprietary nature of foreclosing rather than modification of the loan were comprised of like-minded business people, it would make sense. I'm not quite certain that we want to put this in the hands of legislators. What do you think?
Well, I think that when you are running a business, you understand the business more than the outsider looking in.
Right.
And I respect our legislators and support them and vote for them. And I think that the concept here is creative, and I commend creative legislation to address social needs. But if I was running a bank and I'm not, and I had to convince anybody, I'd probably prefer that it be fellow bankers.
Yeah, I don't think that the lenders are too excited about this. I agree with you. I think that it is progressive legislation. It is something that is designed to provide relief to people who need relief. I understand that, and I'm in favor of that. There are some things that I think should be tinkered with. For instance, I think 23 other states employ the need for mediation. In the event the lender is going to foreclose on the property, they mandate mediation. I think that would be a tremendous thing. I think the person that is the mediator needs to be another business person, someone who really understands the financial equities of which way you're going to go, which way is going to help the economy the most. Because I understand it might be painful for the person undergoing the process, but I think it's a far greater issue than the one person. I think these issues affect all of us. I think the reason the Commonwealth passes a foreclosure prevention bill is because it recognizes the economy can never be put on solid footing with the amount and the frequency of foreclosure activity that's occurring. Now, I suppose we can sit back and say, well, Massachusetts didn't want to wait for the foreclosure activity to run its course naturally, so they're somewhat impatient. They decided, okay, we'll pass this foreclosure bill and we'll help get the economy righted. I agree with that. I'm not quite certain that I think that it's smart to make business people have to try to convince legislators on panels, what kind of business decision they need to make.
Well, I would agree as per my previous comment. As an attorney, I understand, though, that viewers can have different views, and I know that there could be the view that says, well, we need state regulators to be the watchdogs because otherwise the bankers will determine for themselves where the value lies and the program might not work. We might need objective views. But, we have regulators for the securities industry, and it's not necessarily the model that provides the quality, but the integrity of the people. So if you have people with integrity, then you can have a good result. They don't have to be state regulators per se.
You take a look at the savings and loan organization and the problems with savings and loans, and what was it, 5, 6, 7 years ago under Barney Frank, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm not quite certain I see the distinction, the difference between this kind of bill to make it more lenient and what happened under the savings and loans. I'm not suggesting that if fiscally, it makes sense for someone to have their loan modified so that they can maintain the status quo long enough to get back on their feet and become a productive, member of society, yeah, I think that makes sense. I just fear that what happened, the debacle of the savings and loan crisis that initiated this foreclosure problem in the first place, I don't want to see it compounded.
Exactly. The compounding of the problem by a proposed solution, this wouldn't be the first time in history. That's why there's a philosophical component to our discussion. I think that I've talked to many seniors inside the law firm and from the community of Northbridge, where I live, that take the position that the government is not the one to solve the problems, that we can solve our own problems. We need the government for support and for infrastructure. We're not anti-government, these people. Their sentiments are not anti-government, just that the government's role needs to be defined and limited, that's all.
Right.
And so here we have a foreclosure crisis created, I must say, in partly by government policies and oversight or lack thereof. And here's the government trying to solve the problem. I would approach it with hats off to the intent, but skepticism about the methodology.
I want to talk about the PACE program, the Navicare program, but there isn't a lot of time left on the program, so I'm going to have you come back so we can talk about those programs. What I did want to talk about is a survey that the Senior Focus is involved in right now, and what we want to do is make sure that we bring to you the kind of programming that you want to see. Whether it's on the radio, whether it's on TV, whether it's the symposia that we provide to you, if there is a particular issue that you would like covered, by all means, please call our offices, 508-755-6525, or visit the website at www.theseniorfocus.com and take the survey. It's not a long survey, probably will only take you 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 45 at the most. The most important thing is you're able to quantify or qualify what it is that you want to hear. Do you want to hear more about political affairs, more about medical issues, current events, elder affairs, and elder law? So whatever it is that you want to hear, please go to the website, www.theseniorfocus.com. If you don't have a computer, if you're not technologically savvy, and you want to call, 508-755-6525. There are people there at the office that would be able to take your information. Again, it's only going to take maybe 30 seconds or so, and they won't ask you for any contact information. It's really just to find out what it is that you want to find out about. John, I want to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
I appreciate that you would take time and talk about these important issues with me. And please join us next week for more Senior Focus.